Hi, welcome back again. Today I am going to explain a South Korean fantasy film called Vanishing Time, A Boy Who Returned. Please like, share and subscribe. Toward the beginning of the film, a kid therapist meets a young lady named Soo-rin. Soo-rin gets apparently anxious when the specialist sets up a camera to record the meeting. She requests that she recount her story from the start. Soo-rin begins by saying that her mom wedded Doo-kian a few years prior. Before long the marriage, her mom died, and from that point forward, Soo-rin has been living with Doo-kian. He is delegated to a building site on a ruler island named Wano, so the two have to move to the island. Later her mom's passing, Soo-rin has never genuinely been cheerful. She doesn't talk a lot and isn't partial to her stepfather. She is joined up with another school on the island where she has the chance to make numerous companions. However, and after it's all said and done, she favors remaining alone. Her stepfather needs to work for the time being as the head of a passage building site. Due to the blasts that occur during the development, the occupants of the island are prohibited from entering the development region. One evening, Soo-rin goes through her telephone and peruses remarks on her blog about a wormhole. At the point when her mom passed on, Soo-rin needed to flee from the world, and keeping in mind that investigating ways of doing that, she began to acquire interest in wormholes, heavenly creatures, thus on. She converses with individuals on the web about such subjects even on the school's PC. She incidentally leaves her PC open, which permits her cohorts to peruse her remarks, furthermore ridicule her. While getting back, Soo-rin meets a kid named Sung-min who lives in a halfway house. Sung-min acquaints himself and attempts with get to know Soo-rin, yet she disregards him. The following day during lunch, Soo-rin runs over Sung-min and his companions discussing her blog on the wormhole. Sung-min professes to have entered one more aspect in the wake of understanding it. That day, Sung-min follows her behind as she is heading back home. On being called out, he says that he accepts all that she has written in the blog. Out of their common interest in powerful cycles, the two become companions. Soo-rin has fostered her own letter sets to speak with Sung-min stealthily. They start to utilize it every day to leave each other notes in Soo-rin's journal. Consistently later school, they circumvent towns searching for phantoms. In one of such campaigns, Sung-min brings Soo-rin to a neglected wooden house in the timberland. They investigate the house and talk for quite a while, cutting on wax blocks. Soo-rin has begun to fall head over heels for Sung-min. She kisses him out of nowhere, making him bother. At some point, Soo-rin finds Sung-min and three of his companions intending to go to the development site to watch the blasts. She goes along with them, and the children clear their path through the forest so the adults wouldn't see them. At the point when they cross the fence to the site, one of the children chickens out and runs back home. The other four take cover behind a precipice, pausing, yet are disillusioned when no blasts take place. While strolling through the wilderness, they go over a small cavern. They choose to investigate it and go inside consistently. At last, they go over a splendid sparkling substance lowered in water toward the finish of the cavern. Soo-rin accepts that it is a meteoroid. Sung-min volunteers to plunge into the water and bring the substance out. On being rescued once again from the passage, what quits sparkling? The children notice that it resembles an egg. Part of the gang named Tae Shik claims that the egg may have a place with a period troll. His granddad had once let him know that on full moon evenings, a cavern shows up in the mountains, where the time troll lives. Whoever goes into the cavern will come out as a more seasoned individual. Different children don't completely accept that him since they didn't age. Soo-rin finds that her clip, which was a gift from her mom, is absent. She returns into the cavern to search for it as the folks watch the egg. She is in the end lost in the forest and needs to remain the evening. The next day a police power searches for the children in the forest. Analyst On is made the top of the examination. Before long, the police find Soo-rin oblivious in the forest. Luckily, she is fit as a fiddle. In the medical clinic, the investigator asks her what befell different folks, and she tells him everything about the cavern and the shining egg. The criminal investigator and the grown-ups don't trust her story. She even takes them to the wilderness to show them the cavern, yet can't track down it. It is as though it vanished later the full moon night. Then, at that point, the analyst is educated that the cadaver regarding one of the missing young men, Jae-wook, has been found underground on an oceanside 20 km away from the town. Since somebody needed to cover him underground, the case abandons missing individual to seizing. Weeks pass later the occurrence, however the other two young men are not found. Without Sung-min, Soo-rin transforms into her more established withdrawn self. She, as well, is pretty much as confounded as everybody, except nobody accepts her when she says reality. At some point, she hears a commotion from outside her home. She follows him behind and enters profound into the woods. A few minutes into running, she tumbles to the ground and the man additionally stops. He moves toward her and views at her in interest as Soo-rin freezes in shock. The man represents the initial time and claims that he is Sung Minimum. On hearing his name, Soo-rin emerges from her stunned state and flees crying. She winds up before Do Kian's vehicle and hurriedly enlightens him concerning the man. The police are educated with regards to the episode and they begin looking through the forest to look for the man, expecting that he is the ruffian. Investigator On gets some information about the man and she uncovers that he was claiming to be Sung Minimum. The police officers don't track down the hijacker, however they get their hands on Soo-rin's journal, that she and Sung Min used to leave notes for one another. On seeing the pages, she is astounded on the grounds that they are loaded up with Sung Min's notes. Utilizing their code language, he has expounded on all that occurred later. She went into the cavern to get her clasp. The folks get inquisitive with regards to what is inside the egg, so Sung Min breaks it on the ground, without hanging tight for Soo-rin. To their mistake, it ends up being unfilled. At the point when Soo-rin doesn't return for some time, Sung Min goes inside the cavern and sees that she has frozen in her place. He attempts to converse with her and move her, yet she doesn't react. Minutes after the fact, he sees a drop of water suspending midair. He emerges from the cavern and looks upwards to see the birds have additionally frozen in the air. The young men go to the town and see that everybody, including their families, have stopped. This causes them to understand that time has frozen for everybody aside from them three, which means that they can do anything they need. For the initial not many days, they are large and in charge. They eat and drink whatever they like, rest at whatever point they need to, and play around the whole day. Following a month or something like that, they get exhausted, so they choose to leave the island and go to another city to check whether they are really the main individuals on the earth who can move. In any case, their arrangement is ruined when they understand that the water in the sea has likewise halted streaming, which implies that the boat will sink. Back in the present, Soo-rin registers that the one who moved toward her in the forest was indeed Sung Minimum. She quits perusing as presently moving the police away from him as her primary goal. Assuming they observe him, they will definitely capture him for being the criminal, so she guarantees to have lied about seeing anybody in the wilderness. The police accept her and she keeps perusing the diary. Numerous months after the fact, the folks begin to live inside a tent in the shopping center. Jae-wook's well-being deteriorates continuously on the grounds that he has asthma and his inhaler stops working. In the wake of kicking the bucket, Jae-wook's body additionally stops like the others. 5 years pass, yet the world continues as before. The folks have now developed into youngsters. Despite the fact that they have been living in disengagement for such countless years, they actually trust that sometime in the future, the world will return to ordinary. Sung Min accepts that when they turn 20, their time will continue. They take a smidgen of cash from everybody to be rich when that occurs. Nonetheless, in any event, when they turn 20, nothing changes. They gradually start to lose trust and begin to reside in the wooden house in the wilderness. At some point, the detachment defeats Sung Min. He shouts and hollers for everything to stop. Tae Shik witnesses this from a remote place and loses all expectation. Every so often later, Sung Min sees that the moon's shape is changing, implying that the world is going to be continued. He goes searching for Tae Shik, yet doesn't find him anyplace. He looks for him all through the island and in the end arrives at the last precipice. There, he finds Tae Shik's garments on the ground and registers that his companion has hopped into the water to end it all. He likewise bounces behind Tae Shik if all else fails. Yet, at the exact second, the world resumes. He emerges from the water and is entranced by the moving nature. Subsequent to perusing the diary, Soo-rin hurries to the wooden house, lastly sees her companion. They choose to recount the story to the world, however are uncertain, assuming that anybody will trust them. In the interim, CCTV film shows the police that Sung Min is in the forest. They accept he is the kidnapper. Around evening time, Sung Min comes to Soo-rin's space for basic reassurance. Since he has been living alone for so long, he is terrified he will hurt himself to dispose of the aggravation. In the meantime, Soo-rin and Sung Min go to the halfway house that Sung Min used to remain in, and he used to do as a child. She is stunned, yet she actually doesn't trust him. Do Kian secures Soo-rin her room around evening time, however Sung Min enters through the secondary passage, furthermore liberates her. They flee from the house to conclude what they ought to do straight away. Do Kian sees that his girl is missing and figures she went to the wooden house later, tracking down an image of her and Sung Min on her telephone. he goes there around evening time, assaults Sung Minimum, and attempts to take Soo Rin back home. Yet, Sung Min takes him out and flees with her. The following day, the police research the wooden house and accept that the criminal is controlling Soo Rin by causing her to accept he is Sung Minimum. The report about Soo Rin's vanishing is on the TV, so the police before long see as the two. A pursuit results among them and the police when Soo Rin hands herself over to save Sung Minimum. Prior to isolating, she requests that he meet her at the cavern. Analyst On attempts to make Soo Rin comprehend that the kidnapper is deceiving her, yet she doesn't trust him. She concocts a rationalization of needing to go to the restroom and flees to the cavern. She brings the sparkling egg out and hands it to Sung Min, yet he won't return it to her since he doesn't need her to utilize it. He is going to hand himself over and assume the fault for killing his companions. He flees into the forest as Soo Rin follows him. Simultaneously, the police show up and pursue behind. They stop toward the finish of a precipice. An official snatches Sung Min and pushes Soo Rin off the precipice simultaneously. The analyst helps Soo Rin, however winds up hanging off the precipice with her. Sung Min attempts to save them. However, before he can, the two of them fall back. To save them, Sung Min breaks the egg again and stops time. At the point when Soo Rin awakens a couple of moments later, she is on an ocean side with the criminal investigator. She understands what Sung Minimum has recently done. Despite the fact that it has just been a second for her, for Sung Min it probably been one more decade. She is then reclaimed home. While having supper, she is sorry to her dad for all that she has done and calls him father. Interestingly, the analyst comes to ask how they endure the fall. Soo Rin doesn't reply, however he sorts out that she was coming clean this whole time. He proposes she give a bogus assertion to the media and say that the criminal had controlled her. Thusly, individuals who are blaming her for killing her companions alongside the criminal will be refuted. Soo Rin is at last done recounting her story to the specialist. She is passed on staggered subsequent to paying attention to everything and needs to compose a book on it. A few months after the fact, Soo Rin is moving to an alternate city for secondary school. Prior to leaving, she meets the specialist who gives her the book, which has now been distributed. En route to the ship, Soo Rin sees Sung Min through her vehicle window and hurries to meet him, yet sees as nobody. Yet, sometime later, the two meet on the deck. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.